what do you think about? I don't know if you looked into, or you've been following the Russian Ukraine issue
Yeah.
and Trump's approach.
But I know Trump is making a lot of noise how he's going to stop it when he's president. He's president now.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's had a call with Putin. And to my greatest dismay, Zelensky came out on some interview. I'm not sure, but I saw it on CNN. It's like, why would Trump call Putin before talking to me? Right?
Mhm.
I just, I'm not going into the details here, but what an arrogant statement to make. Like, are you really in the way of peace, or do you just want to be a gatekeeper as to who goes there to make peace or not? No, for me that was one shocking um, um, event that recently happens. Like, and then I just saw Trump's reply on Twitter to him. An averagely successful comedian, blah blah blah. His his rating is like 4%. He's been there for 6 years. He's suspended the constitution. He hasn't had elections and whatever. Well, um, I mean that's typical Trump fashion. But I just thought Zelensky's attitude of Trump calling Putin, who clearly is involved in this war, was like, you are not the gatekeeper of peace. You are not the one to say peace must be on your own terms. I think I've seen a lot of people die. Had a lot of cities being destroyed. That most people just want peace right now.
Mhm.
Like, because you're the president of Ukraine, you just say, oh, they have to pass through you first. Like, whatever means possible to bring peace in that part of the region, I'll be happy with. That's just my overview without necessarily understanding the details of
Hundreds
everything.
of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have died
100,000 people died,
in
have
on
died
both sides, right?
on
And
both
a lot
sides. Yeah,
more, and a lot more from Ukraine, to the point
yeah.
where they are now considering enlisting, you know,
Older
soldiers
people, sick people.
at 18. No, no, they've done all the older people. They know that there's no more old person to pick up. So now they want to step it down to 18 years old. So it's a
Yeah,
whole generation that they
yeah.
are now
Yeah, I
intending
don't know why.
to put in front of the, to put against the Russians, who would definitely eliminate all of them, right? For
All
lack
of
of a
them.
better
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
So I definitely would think that people would appreciate or support any peace effort. At
Right.
least it is an effort, right? People would probably want to say a lot of people. I mean, a good number of people have died so far. I think it's a good time to end the war. I
Right.
see no reason
You think
why
that somebody,
anyone would
yeah,
be against
object to that? Yeah.
Trump making a phone call to Putin and saying, "Hey, we need to come together. We need to end this. Let's find
Come on, way to
let's find a
find
way.
common
Let's
ground.
find find common ground. Let's find a solution that is acceptable to you and to others." I think one thing that President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine need to understand is that Trump is not Joe Biden.
It's not.
Because when Joe Biden was in office, he said, and they kept saying, no
We'll fund
conversation
Ukraine
about
till
Ukraine without
with
Ukraine,
Putin.
right?
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
kept saying that they are going to support Ukraine until.
Till the end, until Ukraine stands strong. Yeah.
And again, if you look, if you listen to those who are versed with the war itself, and you would know, even though they don't say it like this, but you know that Russia isn't losing as
The
as they
way the
used to.
media portrayed it.
Russia is not losing. Russia has been taking grounds, especially the last year, the last couple of months, right? So
Yeah.
Russia isn't like losing per se. There is not a stalemate. For those who say, "Oh
No.
no, it's a stalemate," it's not.
Yeah.
Russia is
Yeah.
is definitely cruising on,
I mean, a lot of, like
and
you said, a lot of Russians have died, but
taking
yeah,
land.
Russia is
No,
not
but
losing. They are
of
gaining
course,
territory, from what I've read. You know,
yeah.
and,
Again,
and
comparatively, you have a lot more Russians than Ukrainians. Ukraine is a small country
it's a small country.
in terms of numbers, right?
Yeah,
Compared to Russia, Ukraine is a
yeah,
small country, right? So
yeah.
Russia has to at this point has an inexhaustive pool of people they can pull into the
Example.
war. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Ukraine, has a limited number of people. First of all, about 20-25% of Ukrainians fled.
Yeah.
They are hiding. They are hanging somewhere in Europe and in the US. Some of them here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And those who were left, they took those who were of proper fighting age, and then they decided to take those who were older.
Yeah.
Now there's they are contemplating
Bringing down the
enlisting
age.
18-year 25-year-old and giving them incentives to join the fight. So at the end of the day, it tells you exactly they can't keep up. No matter how much
Okay.
weapons they supply,
The
they
supplies. Yeah.
might not have the soldiers to use them, right, as they
I don't
say.
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So a recent development has been um um we had, I think, yesterday and today, um um nego- we had a team of negotiators meeting in the Saudi Arabia. I think that's where they are, in Riyadh, Saudi
Mm-hmm.
Arabia. They had a
Mm-hmm.
meeting yesterday. They had a meeting today, and I think they're just kind of laying the groundwork for proper negotiations, right? And of
Government
course,
negotiation. Yeah.
Ukraine is not part of that. Is not part of that
It's
conversation.
not.
European Union isn't part of the conversation.
Isn't part of it.
NATO is
Yeah.
not part of that conversation because these are
Yeah.
people. These are irrelevant. I would say that they are irrelevant. America leads. America is head of NATO. Without America, there's no NATO, right? Europe is not. The European Union is not strong enough to stand on their own.
On their own.
And again,
Yeah.
some people would argue, again, not my words. Some people would argue that Zelensky is just a puppet. Was a puppet of Joe Biden,
Or Joe
right?
Biden. Yeah.
And really has no control, no say. America controls
Yeah.
what happens, right? The UK, of course, it's
The UK
a
is
shadow a shadow
yeah.
of its
Yeah.
former self. They really can't do much without the US. So if the
No.
US decides that we are just going to sit down and talk with Russia, well, they can go around and make all the
Yeah,
noise
they
they
can
want to
go
make.
around. Yeah. Yeah.
They are definitely not changing that, right? So again,
No.
I think we like Trump said, we need to look at the reality on the ground. The reality on the ground is Ukraine is losing the war. The reality
Everyone's
on the
is
ground is there is nothing that the European Union can do about it. They'll send all the money you want, right?
there's
What
some
what
money,
then?
billions have gotten missing on the
What
way.
then?
So just
Missing,
they just use Ukraine to money launder.
that
It's
is the
sad. And
argument that some have made, right? So again, definitely, I think Trump is a very divisive kind of person.
it kind of, but
You either like him or you hate him. There's no middle ground. And so
there's no
far,
middle ground. Yeah.
I think
It
that
looks like he's winning.
I am liking some of the moves that he's made. Again, there's certain things that I don't like about Trump.
Yeah.
His position on Gaza is definitely not a policy that I would support,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I definitely support his desire to bring peace in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
I definitely support the moves that he's making. I think why bring in someone who might just sabotage the peace?
Right.
We remember a couple of years ago when this thing just started. There definitely was an agreement. Definitely Russia and Ukraine reached a deal.
But he walked back from the deal, didn't
He
he?
walked back,
Did he?
right? So why bring
Yeah.
someone who would sabotage whatever progress that you're making? Why bring in the Europeans? The Europeans really want this war to go on. They've all said that. France, Macron is been asking, oh, why is Zelensky not part of this conversation? Why is Trump talking? I heard Trudeau too making the same comment. Oh, Zelensky needs to be included in these negotiations. Zelensky needs to be. So everyone in Europe, except for a few, Hungary
has always been against the war. Slovenia,
who have always been against the war and have always advocated for peace, right? I think those are the few countries in Europe. Most of the countries in Eastern Europe, Poland, Czechs, the Moldovans, and these are people who want to see the war continue. Again, none of their citizens or a few of their citizens have died as a result of this.
Yeah.
Right. So you live in your comfort. and you encourage the death
The
of
sons of
others,
others to go and die. Yeah,
which is exactly what is happening.
but it's, yeah.
Which
Mm.
is exactly what is happening. So yeah, that is definitely um something that
Yeah,
we follow
yeah, I
and
wish, and I
have
need,
maybe a bigger conversation about, right?
right. I need to pay more attention to that. I just know Trump has a new approach,
Mm-hmm.
and he's eliminating or bypassing Zelensky, and he's not happy about that. But yeah, that's just all I know about it. Not so much.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Zelensky is
I'll try to pay more attention
if,
to
if
it.
if if you are nobody, you get treated as a nobody. I think that's what it is. If you
Yeah,
are nobody,
yeah.
well, you get treated as such, right? And I
All
think
right.
if he had demonstrated a strong desire for peace, I'm sure
For peace,
he would have been included. But because he's just been completely against any negotiations, he's like, oh, we can't negotiate with Putin.
with
We can
yeah, we cannot
negotiate with
negotiate with
Russia,
terrorists.
but
Like,
Putin has to be out. We need a special tribunal to try the Russian leader. Who does that?
who does that?
Who does that? You win the war and then you call for a tribunal, or you win the
Yeah,
war. You have to win first. You can't be losing and then making demands, right? It doesn't
yeah,
make any sense. But again, I mean, we are definitely going to follow up
yeah.
and watch
And
and
see
see.
what's happening on that front.
I know that Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov had led a delegation to Saudi Arabia yesterday. Today they had conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Marco, what's his name? Rubio.
Marco Rubio, yeah.
Marco Rubio was leading the American delegation, and those two groups of people are going to sit down and lay down the foundation and the modalities for further conversations. Right?
Mm-hmm,
Again,
mm-hmm.
people need to talk. Even I talk with my enemies,
Yeah, you have to talk with your
right?
enemies,
Because you have to
particularly
talk to them.
consider
You have to see
the
what they are doing. You have to know. You have to talk to them to understand what it is that they are thinking. If I don't talk to you, there's no way I know. You cannot
yeah,
imagine that Joe Biden went for 3 years
without talking to
three
Putin.
years without a phone call, without a conversation with the leader of a major power like Russia.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense.
who's fighting a war that you are sending money for that
Who is
country to
fighting a
defend
war
itself.
that you are supporting?
Yeah, basically
It
funding.
doesn't make
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. And I think Trump's again. I know last time Trump really had to hold back on a relationship with Russia because of the Russia gate, and he
mm,
knew that he had another term that he another term of office that he had to run for, right? But this time
right.
around, man, Trump has nothing to lose.
Yeah,
You can call
that's
him a
what it was.
Russian puppet all you want, because again, that's what they're calling him. Zelensky says Trump is living in Russia's disinformation world. That was like that was like
Yeah,
that was a comment he made yesterday.
yeah.
Trump is living in
And
Russia's
that's
disinformation
why
world.
I call this Zelensky guy the gatekeeper of peace. And he really wants to position himself as the one who directs how this war is going to end. But I'm sorry, if you find him any war with anybody, and you think that, oh, one side is completely bad and one side is completely innocent, that's not how it works. These things are very complicated. They are often generations and generations that have been involved in this. The people who
Mm.
have mixed for a long time. So you can't just come and arrogantly say Putin everything Putin bad and everything Zelensky good, and the population, the world should just follow you. That's my one issue with Zelensky. You
Yeah,
know,
Europe can follow
he
him. I
he
think
seems like he wants to continue. Yeah,
the global majority disconnected from this uh, 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 utopia a long time ago, because Africa
yeah.
completely out. Africa, nobody in Africa. I mean, not like nobody, but most African states who want nothing to do
Yeah,
with this war, right? Uh, go to Asia. Very few, no Asian
very
state
few.
wants to
They're
deal
not
with this.
even
So
talking about it.
it's mostly a European affair. It's mostly
Yeah,
Europe
with
and the
American.
US.
Yeah, and Canada too, to some extent.
Canada, of course, but again, Canada is as insignificant as Ukraine in this matter. So Canada may pretend all they want. Trump didn't call Trudeau to come sit down. Trump
To
didn't
do
invite
run.
Macron. Macron was not invited,
Yeah,
right? The Chancellor of Germany wasn't invited.
yeah.
Yeah. So it tells you.
It tells you how
Uh, uh,
exclusionary that is. So, and It's almost like we have leaders who purposely want to see people killed to prove a point. As long as it's not your own children dying, yeah, they can die like rats, and you don't give a flipping finger
You don't
whether
care
that nation is going to exist or not. As long you are trying to fight your version of democracy, you rather not talk to the enemy
until the
than
last Ukrainian.
until the last you can
That
have
is
it,
that
which
is
is
terrible.
outrageous. Yeah,
That
outrageous.
is terrible. I think that is an
Or the,
outrageous.
and then when that meeting happened, you as the leader of Ukraine, you're like, oh, they didn't talk to me. So so what happened? Everybody has been talking to you. What has happened?
But why should we talk to you? There was means one, no, not
Yeah,
never implemented. Means two, never implemented.
never implemented. Yeah.
The agreements they had in Turkey, you backed out of,
Hmm.
right? Why should people bring you to the negotiating table? You've
Yeah, yeah.
demonstrated that
You
you
change
have
times and
no
time over again.
value. You have no value for agreements,
Yeah.
right? So why should we invite you?
Why
Maybe at
should
the end
I?
of the day we come tell you what we've decided and then see how you don't respect it, right? Or you know. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely Trump is definitely creating a Trump
It's a
world.
shaker and a mover.
He is shaking and moving things around. He is turning the world upside down in a really good way, in some
Yeah.
aspects. I'm sure there are
Disruptive for sure.
I'm sure there are people who would say, "Oh no, he's causing damage somewhere." But again, yes, he's it changed. I think change,
Once in a
as we
while,
see,
you need a disruptor.
we need a disruptor to make things happen, right? And that is exactly what Trump is doing. Again, it's just been a month.
It's
We
just been a
have
month.
we have
He
we
has.
have we have 3 more years and a couple of months more to go, right? So
Yeah.
this is just the beginning. There's definitely going to be a lot more to
There are
talk
definitely
about
a lot more to talk about. Yeah.
on this matter. And again, just world politics. I think there's a lot going on in the world.
Mhm.